To the world. We live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Glimmer of hope for the Middle East as Israel accepts framework deal for winding down the Gaza conflict. US advocated three-phase plan entails a truce and return of hostages. Mexico's ruling party declares Sheinbaum winner of presidential vote. Donald Trump says Americans could reach breaking point if he's jailed, vows to appeal his conviction by the New York jury. Counting of votes for all 7 phases of India's parliamentary elections to take place on Tuesday, exit polls predict big win for BJP-led NDA. And in football, 15-time champions Real Madrid presents the Champions League trophy to an ecstatic crowd in the Spanish capital city centre on Sunday. And moving on to the details, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken held separate phone calls with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and Benny Gantz, who joined Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in an emergency coalition to discuss a proposed ceasefire deal in Gaza. The calls came as an aide to Netanyahu said that Israel had accepted the deal that has been touted by President Joe Biden. In an interview, Ofer Falk, chief foreign policy advisor to Netanyahu, said that the plan was not a good deal, but Israel has accepted it. He added that Israel's conditions, including the release of the hostages and Hamas destruction, have not changed. Last week, Biden presented Israel's three-phase plan to end the conflict. And a drone launched by Lebanon's Hezbollah fell in the Israeli coastal city of Neharia, causing a fire but no injuries. Air raid sirens has sent the city's 75,000 residents running for shelter after a day of continuous rocket fire from Lebanon at northern Israel. The Israeli military said it had responded throughout the day by striking Hezbollah targets. And in the United States, former President Donald Trump said he would accept home confinement or jail time after his historic conviction by a New York jury last week, but that it would be tough for the public to accept. Trump is scheduled to be sentenced July 11th, 4 days before Republicans gather to formally choose their presidential nominee to face Democratic President Joe Biden in November's election. He has vowed to appeal his conviction by the New York jury, which found him guilty of 34 felony counts over falsifying documents to cover up a payment to silence an adult star ahead of the 2016 election. Trump has used his conviction to step up his fundraising efforts. In an interview to a news channel, Republican presidential candidate said at a certain point there will be a breaking point, though Trump did not elaborate on what he might thought happen if that point is reached.
One of my lawyers the other day on television saying, "Oh no, you don't want to do that to the president." I said, "You don't beg for anything. You just the way it is." I don't know that the public would stand it. I'm not sure the public would stand for it. I think it would be tough for the public to take. At a certain point, there's a breaking point.
And Mexico has made history by electing its first woman president in the country's largest election ever. Claudia Sheinbaum, the former mayor of Mexican City, has won the presidency by a strong majority. The country saw its most historic election as for the first time in the country's history. 2 women led the polls. Sheinbaum's opposition, Xochitl Galvez, is an opposition senator and tech entrepreneur. Amid the historic polls, 2 people were killed in violence at polling centers on Sunday. Voting was suspended at one polling center after a person was killed in a shooting in Coyomipan, a town in the state of Puebla. Mexico's largest ever elections have also been the most violent in modern history, with the killing of 38 candidates. Sheinbaum, who has won the majority over her main competitor, Xochitl Gálvez, is now tasked with confronting organized crime violence. A victory for Sheinbaum represents a major step for Mexico. The winner is set to begin a 6-year term on the 1st of October. And in South Africa, African National Congress lost its outright majority for the first time in 30 years after the final results were announced on Sunday. And President Cyril Ramaphosa called on his country's political parties to work together for the good of the country. The result is the worst election showing for the ANC, Africa's oldest liberation movement, once led by Nelson Mandela, ending white minority rule. Voters angry at joblessness, inequality and rolling blackouts slashed support for the ANC to 40.2%, down from 57.5% in the previous 2019 parliamentary vote. Political parties now have 2 weeks to work out a deal before the new parliament sits to choose a president who would likely still hail from the ANC, since it remains the biggest force. Though on Sunday, Ramaphosa said that the election result was a victory for democracy.
Much to all of you. The final announcement of the 2024 national and provincial election results today in many ways represents a victory for our democracy as South Africans. It also represents a victory of our constitutional order, but more importantly, it represents a victory for all the people of South Africa. We have held another successful election that has been free, fair, credible, and peaceful.
And Serbia's ruling party defeated the opposition on Sunday in a vote for Belgrade City Council and partial local elections across the country, marked by scuffles between opposition supporters and those of the populist president Alexander Vučić. According to an unofficial vote count by the pollster SESED, the alliance led by Serbian Progressive Party, loyal to Vučić, won 52.9% of votes in the capital city. The Kreni Promeni center-right movement, led by lawyer Savo Monajević, came second with 17.2%. The leftist Green Biram Beograd was third with 12.5%. And shifting focus, the 21st edition of Shangri-La Dialogue draws to a close in Singapore on Sunday. Participants had discussions on a number of pressing security issues, including conflict in Ukraine, Taiwan tensions, and China's threat in the Indo-Pacific.
Premier Security Summit Shangri-La Dialogue brought together decision makers from across the Asia-Pacific, North America, Europe and the Middle East. Key regional security issues including Ukraine conflict, China's threat in the Asia-Pacific, tension in Taiwan, among others, dominated the agenda at the summit. At the summit, U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin worked to refocus attention on China's threat in the Asia-Pacific.
And America will continue to play a vital role in the Indo-Pacific. Together with our friends across the region that we share. In the United States, across the United States government, across our political landscape, you'll find a strong and bipartisan commitment to the Indo-Pacific.
Austin's remarks triggered a reaction from China. Beijing said U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy was intended to create division, provoke confrontation, and undermine stability. Japan's Defense Minister Minoru Kihara too expressed concerns over the situation in the Indo-Pacific region. The summit was also addressed by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky thanked countries including the United States, Germany and the Netherlands for their military assistance. He informed the participants about the upcoming peace summit in Switzerland in mid-June.
More than 100 countries and international organizations have confirmed their participation in the summit for today. At the first summit, we will address 3 points of the peace formula: nuclear security, food security, and the release of prisoners of war. And of course, the Ukrainian children abducted by Russia.
Zelensky also held a bilateral meeting with other leaders. He met with the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. and the Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto. Zelensky also met Singaporean Prime Minister Lawrence Wong after he addressed the last day of the Shangri-La Dialogue Forum. Other bilateral meetings at the summit included US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's meeting with his South Korean counterpart Shin Won-sik on Sunday, and his meeting with Japanese Defense Minister Minoru Kihara. Austin also held a trilateral meeting with Japanese Defense Minister Kihara and South Korean Defense Minister Shin Won-sik on the sidelines of the summit in Singapore. Tensions in the Taiwan Strait also came up for discussions during Shangri-La Dialogue. The Chinese Defense Minister reiterated China's stance on Taiwan.
The current situation in Taiwan Strait is severe. Figures like Lai Ching-te have shamelessly forgotten their roots and proclaimed the two-state theory, attempting to seek independence by relying on external forces and resorting to military means.
Shangri-La Dialogue is organized by the London-based International Institute of Strategic Studies. It is a unique platform for debate on developing security challenges. Fuzail Ahmed's report for DD India.
And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met his Filipino counterpart Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in Manila. Zelensky also announced that Ukraine will open its embassy in the Philippines. Zelensky traveled to Manila from Singapore, where he made an unscheduled appearance at the Shangri-La Dialogue conference. This is his second visit to Asia since the beginning of the Russia-Ukraine conflict in 2022. He also called on Singapore PM Lawrence Wong. And Boeing and NASA have said that their teams are preparing to launch the new Starliner space capsule on the 5th of June after scrubbing its inaugural test flight launch attempt on Saturday. The Starliner capsule had stood ready for blastoff from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida on Saturday before a ground system computer triggered an automatic abort command that shut down the launch sequence. Once launched, the Starliner is expected to arrive at the space station after a flight of about 24 hours and dock with the orbiting research outpost some 250 miles above the Earth. And 2 bodies were recovered from Italy's Natisone River on Sunday after it was flooded. 3 people went missing on Friday after water levels began to rise unexpectedly due to heavy rainfall in the area. The local fire department led extensive operations. Search and rescue efforts were underway for the third-person occurrence. And California's Joaquin Valley battled a fast-moving wildfire on Sunday as it left several thousand acres of land charred. According to the state's firefighting service, the Coral fire burned through 14,000 acres and was 30% contained. Several vehicles were destroyed in the blaze. 2 firefighters were also injured. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world today. At least 1 person was killed and 25 others were injured in an overnight shooting in Akron in Ohio. A firearm and several dozen shell casings were recovered at the scene, local media reported. The police have not yet provided any information about the victims or the suspect. An old apartment building collapsed in the Turkish city of Istanbul on Sunday, killing 1 person and injuring 8, authorities said. The cause of the collapse is not clear yet and further details are awaited. Visitors to a riverside garden in Japan's Ibaraki prefecture enjoyed a traditional wedding ceremony procession on a boat. The procession is part of the annual Suigo Itako Iris festival. Until the 1960s, it was customary for brides in white wedding kimonos to be seen on rowboats heading to meet their bridegrooms. The festival will go on till the 16th of June. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. As the mammoth exercise of India's general elections 2024 draws to a close, Election Commission reviews counting day preparations. Counting of votes to begin from 8 a.m. on the 4th of June. Assam Rifles organized medical camp in Imphal, Manipur after incessant rainfall amid Cyclone Ramal has caused massive flooding across the northeastern states. And West Indies gets off to a winning start in ICC Men's T20 World Cup on Sunday. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, India's Election Commission has issued handbook to poll officials ahead of the counting of votes of recently held general elections. The counting of votes for the general elections and the state legislative assemblies of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha and by-elections to assembly constituencies shall be held on the 4th of June starting at 8 a.m. IST. India's Chief Election Commissioner Rajiv Kumar, along with the two election commissioners, had reviewed the counting day preparations with all chief electoral officers and returning officers. The counting trends and results as per data entered by RO and ARO for assembly constituencies and parliamentary constituencies will be available on the ECI website as well as on the Voter Helpline app, both iOS and Android mobile apps. The Voter Helpline app can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or Apple Play Store. The poll body has also issued a handbook for returning officers and counting agents available on the ECI website. Also, the Election Commission of India has ordered re-polls at one polling station each in the Barasat and Mathurapur constituencies for general elections. In the eastern coastal state of West Bengal, the fresh polling will be held on the June 3rd from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Earlier voting took place at these stations on the 1st of June. Meanwhile, India's Election Commission has provided central forces to prevent any post-poll violence based on assessment provided by the states and central observers. Andhra Pradesh and West Bengal have been provided with security forces for 15 days after counting of votes. Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh have been provided security forces till 2 days after counting day. Well, the German Foreign Office has congratulated Indians for successfully conducting the world's largest democratic elections. It said that Germany is looking forward to working with India's new government and taking cooperation to the next level. In a post on X, the German Foreign Office stated, "Congratulations to the Indian people for successfully concluding the world's largest democratic elections. We are looking forward to working with India's new government and to taking our cooperation with India to the next level." And Nigerian Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Maitama Taggar on Sunday also congratulated the people of India and the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar for exemplifying their status as the world's bastion of democracy. In a post on X, Yusuf Maitama Taggar stated, "Congratulations to the people of India and Dr. S. Shankar for exemplifying their status as the world's bastion of democracy. This historic election, which lasted 44 days, was the largest ever in history, with more than 968 million eligible voters out of a population of 1.4 billion. As the largest democracy in Africa, we join you in championing democracy, which is a key pillar of our 4Ds foreign policy agenda. Congratulations once again on a successful electoral season," it said. And moving on, in a landmark achievement in the global health security agenda, the 77th World Health Assembly agreed to the package of amendments to the international health regulations based on 300 proposals made by member countries after the COVID-19 pandemic. These amendments are geared towards enhancing countries' preparedness and response to public health emergencies of international concern and pandemic emergencies. They include measures to ensure equitable access to health products during emergencies and mobilize financial resources to support developing countries in building essential capacities under the IHR. India played a constructive role in the crafting of the instrument, which seeks to operationalize equity necessary for an equitable response by developing countries to public health emergencies. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. On Sunday, Telangana celebrated its Formation Day. The celebrations in Hyderabad this year were grand, featuring various cultural performances, parades and fireworks. The celebrations reflected the rich cultural heritage of Telangana and the spirit of its people. Hundreds of thousands of pilgrims visited Kedarnath Dham on Sunday. Uttarakhand's government states that since the opening of the temple doors, more than 600,000 pilgrims have visited Kedarnath Dham, celebrating India's most popular pilgrimage.
पहुंचते ही को प्रोटेक्ट किया था।
Incessant rainfall amid cyclone Ramal has caused massive flooding across the northeastern states, including Manipur. Rescue efforts continue to clean waterlogged areas. Manipur's fire service teams have begun work to declog obstructions and restore the flow of the Naga River at North AOC, Imphal. Rain also lashes parts of Hyderabad and Bengaluru after a spell of dry weather. India's weather authorities predict of thunderstorms, lightning and gusty winds to batter several parts of Karnataka, giving people a short respite from the sweltering heat. As the temperature rises, the incidence of forest fire increase in the different forest areas in Jammu and Kashmir's Rajouri. Incidents of forest fire in the areas in Forest Division of J&K have been on the rise this summer season as soaring temperatures continue to grip the region. And in sports, Real Madrid players presented the Champions League trophy to an ecstatic crowd in the Spanish capital city centre on Sunday. Thousands of fans flocked to Cibeles Square to cheer captain Nacho as he hung a club scarf on the statue of goddess Cebale. Los Bianco added another chapter to their already astonishing love affair with European soccer's elite club trophy by claiming a 2-0 win against Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League final on Saturday as they were crowned for the 15th time. Vinicius Jr., hero of the 14th title triumph in Paris 2 years ago on Saturday, became the first Brazilian to score in 2 Champions League finals. An ICC Men's T20 World Cup co-host West Indies got off to a winning start in the opening Group C match on Sunday as they beat Papua New Guinea by 5 wickets. Defending only 136 runs, Papua New Guinea dared to dream with West Indies at 97 for 5. But Roston Chase played a nice cool 42 of 27 deliveries to cap off his stunning first innings catch and rescue West Indies' topsy-turvy run chase. Earlier choosing to bowl, the men in maroon had restricted BNG to a meagre total. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.